What's up, everybody? New episode of the Early Retirement Vlog. I am Ray Taylor. This episode, I love the Joe Rogan Experience. So, I've talked about a few of my favorite podcasts in the past on the show. Douglas Movies. I believe Your Mom's House. I don't even know if that came out. I tried to do a bunch of episodes one day, and none of them turned out. Uh, but I have slash Filmcast. I know I've talked about them. Um, so the Joe Rogan Experience. I was a fan of Joe Rogan throughout his career, unknowingly, unknowing that he was part of all the different I was a fan of news radio when I was a kid. Didn't realize that he was part of the show. I mean, I knew he was part of the show, but later on when I became a fan of Joe Rogan, it became clear that's like, oh shit, I love news radio. When I was a projectionist, I used to watch Fear Factor all the time, so I watched that show. Later, I got into UFC around '07, '08, maybe '06, somewhere around there. I got into UFC, and he commentates UFC. And then stand up got Netflix in 2008 ish, and his special that was on Netflix. First time I had seen I didn't even know he did stand up. So I watched his stand up. And then I think at that time I was following him on MySpace or some shit, and probably Twitter. And he posted that he was going to do these Ustream things, which I was doing Ustream with my podcast. And then I'd watch Slash Filmcast did theirs live. So I was like, oh, I'll check it out. I'll check out, see what Joe Rogan's doing. And it was basically him and Red Band sitting in front of a laptop with the webcam on. And they're doing filters with like snowflakes and shit. And then it turned into, they had like stands like this for the Joe Rogan Experience, which it kind of changed over time. I mean, when it first started, it was Rogan interacting with people in the chat room, answering questions, and then with Red Band kind of running the computer, and then he started having guests in. He would have Joey Diaz, Duncan Trussell, Ari Shafir, and they had him on a couch, and it was kind of just not the best setup for the podcast. And then he changed it to where it was. So then he had multiple guests on. Then he set up like a table, and it was 3 cameras. So it was, you got to see Rogan, the one guest, and Red Band, who was his producer and co-host at the time. And they did that for a while, so they only had one guest on at a time, which kind of became what the show is for the most part, where it's just Rogan with a guest and then there's a producer. Um, so it went from there. He's still recording out of his house. Then Red Band gets the Death Squad studio at the Ice House Comedy Club. It's part of the Comedy Club, kind of attached to the Green Room-esque, which I've been in that studio, which is kind of crazy. So Rogan used to do his show out of that studio for a couple years, and he still kind of the same format. He would have more people on though. Like I remember he had Ronda Rousey on, and Eddie Bravo was kind of joining in on the conversation because it was a bigger table. And then eventually he moved. I think wasn't too long after the Neil deGrasse Tyson one. Because Neil deGrasse Tyson was at the Death Squad studio, and I don't think it was far after that where Rogan's like, man, I should probably get something that's more professional. So then he went to the studio that he's currently at, where Red Band was, I think, co-producing for a while with Jamie, or Jamie may have started at the Ice House. Don't really remember when Jamie came in because there was kind of a point where Red Band was still there, but he wasn't really producing. He was just doing some things, and then he would just show up, like on kind of a regular basis. And then eventually Redman left, and he comes on the show like once every few months. Jamie Vernon's the new producer. Um, they do HD video live stream now. They do on and YouTube and probably Facebook Live. I don't know. I know he does Face or YouTube Live. I don't think they do Ustream anymore. And it's just interviews with brilliant people, all different kinds of people, from comics to scientists to politicians to just everyday people that work a specific type of a job. Whatever Rogan seems to be interested in is what he does. He used to be very strict on 3 hours, like very strict, up until it's probably been a few years now. But there was a few years ago where he finally started doing less than 3 hours. Now it'll range anywhere from an hour. Like if he gets a cam girl on, it'll be like an hour where he just runs out of shit to talk about. Or if it's just kind of like if a Rogan podcast that's only an hour long is not a good podcast. It's weak. And then I think he's had some that have gone to like 4 hours. So, especially the Fight Companions. He does Fight Companions where he'll have Eddie Bravo and the Fighter and the Kid guys come in, Brendan Shaw, Brian Callen, and they'll watch a UFC or rewatch a UFC event while they generally talk about other things that aren't related to fighting. Or they'll break down fights where they'll talk about things that aren't necessarily related to fighting. But it's a great show. It's long format, which I really don't mind. I'm used to like stopping and starting shows while I go. I enjoy watching his show. It's well produced. Jamie cuts the cameras nice. He's always on top of it. It's always good quality. But I enjoy seeing the reactions. Sometimes you can watch video. There was a time where they would talk about videos so much, and if you were listening to the episode, you can just go fuck yourself. Now they still do videos. They kind of try and show them, but they can't really show them because YouTube's, legal shit. But it's like kind of the gold standard with podcasts. He does just a really good job, has really good guests. Even though they're long, he does like 3 to 4 episodes a week, usually. And there's no set time. He just records them when he records them, and they come out. The turnover is usually really quick, if not immediate. With Jamie, he's on top of his shit. Unlike a lot of other producers where it's like they won't have a regular release schedule, and their shit comes out like months later. And it'll be like they'll dump 3 episodes one week, and then you'll wait a month for nothing, and then you get an episode, and maybe you get another episode. So Rogan does it nice, and I like that he doesn't put ads over everything. He has ads just for the audio version at the beginning, and I think at the end. There's nothing that comes in at the middle. That's one thing I hate with like these podcasts that I know are making fucking bank, and because they brag about their numbers all the time. They fucking just like the more numbers, like for every million listeners, let's just have 3 more ads. So we'll just have ads through. Oh, but we're making the ads fun. We're having fun with the ads. We're having fun doing the same MeUndies fucking ad basically same way. I don't give a fuck. You're doing ads throughout your whole shit. You're turning into fucking Playboy magazine. There's no nudity. It's all articles and fucking advertisements. Not that I ever gave a shit about Playboy. I'm just trying to compare 2 shitty products. When you're a podcast and you fucking just load it up with advertisement, gross. But just Joe Rogan doesn't do that. Super clean, starts, stops, and it's great. Good conversations. He's really good at interviewing. It's very rare that there's a conversation where I have to turn it off. It's usually if there's arguments, and the arguments, I just don't know what either side is talking about, so it's like ridiculous for me to even attempt to pay attention. Or it's just people arguing for no reason, and it's just whatever. Like when Jamie Kilstein was on, I was like, I'm good. That was back at the Ice House days. I was like, I'm good. I don't need to listen to this bullshit. But Joe Rogan Experience, I'm sure if you're at all aware of podcasts, you're aware of his show. But I love his show. It's a podcast I've listened to like every episode. So I've listened to Joe Rogan's voice probably more than any human on planet Earth, on the round globe of planet Earth. Um, but yeah, I was kind of go back to the thing. So his whole career, I followed Rogan unknowingly. Now I'm a huge fan. I watch his specials. I'm more of a fan of his podcast than am of his stand up. I'm a huge stand up comedy fan. Um, but like Bill Burr, like for comedy, Bill Burr kills it. Fucking Tom Segura is just destroying it. Not that Rogan's not putting out good stuff, but I get so much of his opinion and his viewpoint with his podcast that when I go listen to his stand up, it's just almost it's not as good. It's almost like I'm getting an inferior product in some ways. His last special was really good. But anyway, Joe Rogan Experience, highly recommend it. Inspired Reco, go subscribe. You can check out my shit and donate to me on patreon.com, patreon.com/inspired disorder. That's where you can donate to help support everything that I do, my artwork, the podcast, the vlogs, the website maintenance, everything. Go links to subscribe to everything that I do, inspireddisorder.com. Go buy some artwork, go buy some prints, support an artist, support me. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I'm out of here. Have a great week, people. Peace.